This one I've spent a little bit more time with Pat. I joined Bloomberg yesterday, and new hosts, by the way, on technology.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, after a long time, Emily Chang moved on, and now you have Carolyn Hyde, Ned Ludlow. It's kind of different, back to the old days of two hosts on different coasts. Hey, look at that, hosts on different coasts. I like that.
How about you? You're always
Yeah, I'm going to use that one. But no, it was really pretty much a miss across the board for Alphabet. Missed on earnings, missed on revenue, missed on YouTube, missed on cloud, and they saved a little bit on traffic acquisition costs. So 1% growth for Google, 1% growth. Now, again, you can look at this two ways. 1% growth over what was like record growth numbers that happened all the way throughout the pandemic to a slowing period where they're flattening out, or you can look at it as, the world is ending. Alphabet's growth has slowed down. So, look, I don't advertising. I don't think is as much your and I's sweet spot. But what I'll say is, you got to kind of look at the macro environment. I still think Google is above the fold. It's one of the most important search engines for any company that's looking to drive traffic and drive digital foot traffic into their various commerce platforms. And so I don't see it as a huge problem, but I think in times a weaker economy is always going to pull back on advertising. So there is some preference moving around. Google is under a bit of scrutiny with the FTC, and that's going to continue to be the case. I think it's interesting timing now with ChatGPT, OpenAI, and of course, Apple and Amazon all growing in advertising. If Google's really as big of a problem, but Lena Khan needs a win somewhere. So, maybe this is the one she thinks she can get. So far, not so good for her. But overall, Pat, I think a couple of subplots is the macro is going to be tough. The company's doing layoffs right now. And again, it's important perspective, though, is they're laying off about 12,000 people, but I still think they're up like significantly from a year ago. So they are laying some people off. They are looking to reduce some costs. They are trying to pull back on some real estate. So they're doing the OpEx thing. Right now, the street wants to hear companies pulling back, spending less. Those are important things, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I want to flip over a little bit, though, to Google Cloud. So narrowing losses and 32% growth. So is that enough? And that's a big question. So the big bets, Thomas Kurian and team, is that Google Cloud has to be a big part of its future. And the growth rate is good, but they're still not showing profitability. I think they're committed, though, Pat. I think they're committed to not making money until they hit an economy of scale where they can truly compete. I don't think Google gets into the cloud business to be a distant third to Microsoft and Amazon. They're going to keep going and growing until they hit that size and hit that scale, hit that capacity. And that's where probably the last thing notable is a lot of talk yesterday about Google's AI plans. They're changing the reporting. They're going to start breaking out things like with DeepMind and the revenues and the business much more closely so people understand its AI strategy. And let's be very clear, this has been driven by the recent moves by Microsoft. Microsoft's investment in OpenAI and its very, very aggressive implementations of GPT-3 and the rest of OpenAI across its portfolio, and the expectations of doing that is going to force Google to come out of its somewhat hibernate state about what it's going to do with AI. And we are going to hear soon. And Pat, I think Google has some things up its sleeve. Google has been working for a long time to be the leader in AI. Its cloud business has been built a lot and functionally on the AI technologies and the data and the ML services that it offers. You see a lot of intelligence built into Workspace to Google. And of course, amazing amounts of data in its search business. I think the company has more to offer. And I think for the world, giving OpenAI a challenger is going to be a good thing. I think we need challengers. Nobody can just run away with it now. But now that Microsoft's gone all in, I think we're going to see what Google's got in its hand.
Yeah, Dan, if you recall the last 3 times we talked about OpenAI and chat GTP or GPT, I always mess that up. GPT, I brought up Google, and I absolutely knew that Google had something going on. And in fact, Sundar announced an event that's going to be on the 8th next week to go through what they're doing in search and beyond. And one of the key quotes Sundar opened with was all about long-term investments in computer science. We're well positioned to be in AI. It's reached an inflection point, and we're gonna be there. And yeah, that was an absolute reaction to what Microsoft is doing with OpenAI, but absolutely reinforces, my prognosis that Google is working on something. They have been working on something. DeepMind has been out there for forever, and we're going to have to see on the 8th what they do. On advertising, it is funny. I was surprised advertising didn't crater last quarter. I couldn't understand how that number was so good. And the only thing I can come up with were longer term ad buys. It took a little bit longer to turn the spigot off the marketing folks than it normally took. And then, finally, I don't have much to add on the Google Cloud part. I mean, the growth is really good. The narrowing of the loss is exceptional, and it was a good number. And I'd love to see the breakout of IaaS versus PaaS and SaaS, but that's not going to happen. I was also happy to see Sundar talk. He's been talking more about Google Cloud on the earnings call, which I think is important to enterprises to send the message that this is a business that is important to Google. If nothing else, it just shows that Google would be better off by having a much bigger B2B business than the B2C or advertising business. I mean, look at the numbers. Search, YouTube, network, all down. The only thing up was Google Cloud. Sure, other bets was up, but I don't even count that. So the one final thing that I think could have some reverberations across the industry, again, we normally don't talk about depreciation changes, but Google changed their server and network depreciation from, I think, 5 years to 6 years, and extending the investment. And I'm wondering what impact that has to the chip makers coming forward.